Imagínate que dos millennial cubanitas from the 305 got together and made un show.
That's Take It Easy, a show that celebrates and educates on all things Cuban American. I'm Frida.
And I'm Carmen. We are two BFFs who kept getting told, ustedes son un show.
We decided to make one. Take It Easy.
T-E-I-K-I-R-I-S-I.
We explore the Cubanity.
Y amamos tremenda pachanga. New episodes are out every other Wednesday.
On Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you listen to podcasts.
Take it easy.
Hey everyone, this is DJ.
And this is Ish.
And this is Season 5 of Pero Let Me Tell You.
Are you done chewing your ice? Your hospital ice?
This is not hospital ice. It's ice that has been in a water bottle for a while, so it's like soft. The best ice.
So it's like not hard as ice, but not
Soft,
water, right?
Not water. Soft ice.
Okay.
You know how I love ice.
That's true. That sounds like a David Off cologne.
Well, love ice.
Soft ice.
Soft ice.
Soft ice.
Instead of cool water.
Exactly.
Well, with that said, welcome everybody for episode 226 of Pero Let Me Tell You. Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Estamos aquí, es viernes.
Yes, we are almost at 227.
227. Mary. Anyway, you know what's so funny? So welcome everybody. You know what's so funny? That like cool water is such a 90s scent.
Yeah.
It like that is 90s.
Like they might as well just sell it together as a 90s starter kit with Minotaur.
Minotaur. Okay. I mean, we're going to go down that road. Fahrenheit.
Oh, Fahrenheit. I totally forgot about Fahrenheit now.
And you know what? I have to tell you, I still have all these colors.
I have no doubt.
I have them at some point or another.
Right.
Because I like, as you know, when you came in now that we started to record, you're like, it smells so good. Do you know what I'm wearing?
What are you wearing?
I'm wearing Heaven by Gap.
I was about to say, are you wearing Dream by Gap?
I have Dream Heaven and Earth.
Oh, you're like a Belinda Carlisle song.
Because I love those Gap scents. And
they discontinued all of them, right?
Huh?
They discontinued all of them? Or?
No. They still sell them, but they sell them only at the Gap factory outlet.
I got it.
They don't sell them at the regular Gap, and you can't buy them online.
Oh.
So I go to the Gap factory outlet just to buy
for
them.
this.
Oh, yeah. I love fresh scents. Like, I don't do
like crisp linen type.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I love cool water. Like, you know what the exception is the Angel by Thierry Mugler.
That smells like cotton candy.
Well, I told you that. They told me in the office like years ago when I first had it that I couldn't, one day my boss was like, she didn't tell me no, but she's like,
there have been some complaints.
Your perfume is like really strong. Like you leave a trail. Like, maybe you should wear that at night. Like she was cool about it.
Nobody wants to go to the carnival.
But with that exception, I only do like colognes. That's why one of my favorite colognes of all time, which I still have and I still buy when I run out, which is the quintessential 90s scent, is...
Quintessential 90s? Well, I mean, we just did Cool Water. So
Cool Water, Fahrenheit are big ones. Jupe is another big one for men.
Okay, no. Jupe was worn by everybody who came from Cuba between the years of 99 and 2005.
Yeah, but Jupe really came out in like the early 90s.
Yeah, but there's
one that I'm missing. That's a quintessential 90s
Quintessential 90s.
Okay.
It's not colors.
No, that's
80s.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so obvious
that I'm going to be pissed off when you say it.
The quintessential 90s scent. It's not Fahrenheit.
Perielis 360?
No, Chico. I'm telling you, I like light scents, and I'm going to wear Perielis 360. Okay, it's not Fahrenheit because we already mentioned it. It's not
it's not Jupe. It's not Minotaur.
Right.
I have no freaking clue.
CK1.
You're absolutely mother trucker. Yes.
I freaking love CK1.
That's right.
Like I will die on that hill.
That's one of those scents that I can't remember right now what it smells like, but when I smell it, I know it's CK1.
Yeah, CK1.
Right?
It was a very soft scent. Remember the whole shtick of CK1?
It was everybody.
It was unisex.
Yeah.
Unisex.
Yeah, like Britney's My Prerogative.
Yeah.
Which says it's unisex. I have it. I've worn it. I like it, but it's a little too floral.
My prerogative is unisex.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Really?
a little too floral for my taste to be considered.
Do they still sell her
unisex.
perfumes?
I know they sell them at Navarro.
Well, that means they do.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, yes. Like, yeah, Navarro has the whole, like, Britney fantasy collection.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, CK1.
Damn it. I am so upset that I didn't.
I'll never forget that I was in New York City in June of 1994. And I remember I went to the Bloomingdale's on Fifth Avenue, and that's when they were releasing CK1. And I still have the shirt, with the CK1.
Yeah, in the center.
I remember they were giving it out that day, and I was with my cousin. And my cousin, got one.
Right.
And, who knew that? I mean,
that's legit a collector's item right now.
Right, because a lot of colognes come and go, and they're popular and whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you had no doubt that CK1 was going to be popular, but
not iconic.
But not iconic. That is iconic.
That is iconic.
CK1,
yes.
and it's still the same bottle. I freaking love it. Yes, people, I love CK1. That dates me.
Maybe not. Maybe somebody could discover
I'm sure
it
we
now.
have listeners that are younger than CK1.
This is true. This is true. Oh, that hurt
You
me
know
to
what?
admit out loud.
You know what I love? I love. Now that we're speaking about cologne, is you and I have had this conversation before. So, if we're going back to the Golden Girls,
okay,
Blanche. You know that Blanche used to wear
all of the Elizabeth Taylor.
She used to wear Passion by Elizabeth Taylor for sure.
That was her date fragrance.
And at night she would wear Opium.
Okay, at night it was no. Opium was for special occasions. Passion was for her dates. And then when she would go to the art gallery, it was White Diamonds.
No, but White Diamonds came out a little bit later. White Diamonds came out in the early 90s.
Well, this show went on into the early 90s.
Yeah, well, maybe in the last season.
In the last season,
she wore
okay.
White Diamonds.
She never got around to wearing the emerald one.
No, that came out later.
Right,
No. But you and Sophia wore Charlie.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Or Ginette. Porque una señora.
And Dorothy wore Red Door by Elizabeth Arden.
For sure. For
What
sure.
did Rose wear?
Rose probably wore Heaven Sent.
Okay, a nice airy thing.
Right.
But you know that Blanche was oh my Elizabeth Taylor Passion.
And Stan was all about the brute.
The brute. So echaba tan pelo en
Exactly,
la
en la cabeza.
You know what's so funny? That I mean, everybody says this, and I'm sure our listeners can relate. I mean, we're not saying anything that hasn't been said 1,000 times, but it's incredible how scent takes you places.
Mm-hmm.
You know what creeps up on me in any, depending on where I'm at, when I go somewhere, and it doesn't happen a lot, but it's very distinct, the scent or smell of school. Ese olor que tiene la
That
escuela.
school building scent.
Yes.
And you can't
describe
verbalize it. Right,
Yes.
right.
But you know it when it hits you.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times, I remember not too long ago, or some time ago, I went to, it was a library, one of the library there off of Bird Road that my father goes to. It's a small library.
Oh, yeah.
And when I walked in, I'm like,
It smells like school.
This smells like school. School has a very distinct smell.
Yep.
That it still makes you a little nervous. A little.
Like if it's a Monday, you're freaking out. Yeah.
It's school. And it's incredible what scent does.
Yeah. For me, it's Bihol.
Bihol.
Because my grandparents' taller was right next to the Bihol factory.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So whenever I smell Bihol, I think of going there in the summers and being at my grandparents'
Man,
taller.
what was the whole purpose? I mean, I cook, and even I've never really used Bihol.
I couldn't tell you.
I know
it doesn't really have
like shit,
right? But it doesn't really have a taste per se.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just el
I'm
color.
telling you, one of the greatest tell me you're Latin without telling me you're Latin type things and hashtag growing up Hispanic type stuff is, and this is, it never fails when you grow up in a Latin household. Que la abuela a las 7 de la mañana ya está haciendo el sofrito, cortando la cebolla, el ají, echando la sal y pimienta, todo.
La salsa de tomate.
Toda la salsa de tomate, and there you are, sleeping, and then, your sense of smell in particular is so sensitive in the morning, and it's I am.
It woke you up.
And I'm like, oh my God, it smells like freaking sofrito in my room. Mima, can you make this later?
No, it takes time.
Oh, yes.
It takes time. You can't just make it de un momento para el otro.
Sofrito takes time
Is that a Mariah B-side?
to make for it to taste good. Put it in frijol.
Lord.
Y el arroz.
If this is not on her next album, I don't know what life
I don't
means
know what
nothing.
is it. So, did you see moving into our first topic?
Moving right along,
We got
yes,
sidetracked with
yes.
scents. You
Yes,
know,
as one does.
with scents. So, did you hear everything that's been going on across the pond?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna apply for that temp job.
Okay, so listeners, for our listeners,
Isn't that
who
how it
don't
works?
know, for our listeners who don't know, this week,
This literally happened
yesterday,
Fake Friday.
yeah, yesterday, Liz Truss, who is the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, resigned after. Do you know how many days she was in office?
90?
45.
Wow.
She died 2 days after.
She died? No, she...
I'm sorry. She became Prime Minister 2 days before the Queen died.
Oh, wow.
The last picture of Queen Elizabeth was with her, because when a new Prime Minister is elected, they have to meet the sovereign, and the sovereign asks them it's a ritual, asks them to form a government in her name, and so Liz Truss became the Prime Minister 2 days, or she met with the Queen 2 days before she died, and she was 45 days. It is the shortest rule of any Prime Minister in British history.
Is it even shorter than the guy who got pneumonia here?
No, actually, it isn't. William Henry Harrison. No, he was like 30 some days.
Okay.
Yeah, let me actually double check that. It was 30 some days. Shortest U.S. presidency.
Yeah, for those listeners who, I think you've told the story before, but there was one of our presidents, I don't remember his name right now, even though you just said it, who basically was giving his inauguration speech in like freezing weather and
so
got
William
pneumonia?
Henry Harrison died. It was president just for 31 days. But here's a kicker about William Henry Harrison. So this is the learn section of the show, everybody. So buckle up. So he was elected in 1841. And his election, his campaign, was one of the most contentious and fought out elections up to that point in American history.
Okay.
The one that he won. And William Henry Harrison...
For the record, America, we don't always have to outdo ourselves.
And William Henry Harrison was a very decorated, he was
a war hero.
He was
military guy.
Military guy. He was an intellectual. He was somebody with
Está preparado.
credentials. Está preparado. Well, William Henry Harrison, after this contentious, huge election that they went at it, he wins and is in. So this would have been the election of 1840.
Okay.
So in January of 1841, when he got inaugurated, he gave the longest inauguration speech ever. It was over 2 hours long. Jeez. It was 2.5 hours long. Now, here's the thing. What is the weather like in D.C.?
Pretty cold.
Pretty cold.
Pretty cold.
When William Henry Harrison got pneumonia. And
in the 1800s.
And from the moment that he became president to that he died 31 days later, he was actually unconscious for half of that time.
That's right.
Of those 31 days. So really, he was president only for
15 days.
Yeah. More or less.
A work week.
Right. ¿Tú sabes lo que es tanto trabajo to win an election, to die 31 days later?
And then this lady just up and resigns.
So Liz Truss, I know, right? So Liz Truss resigned. Well, do you know how that works? How the prime ministers resign and all that?
No, I can't say I do.
So again, the learn part of the show. So in the UK, they have a parliamentary system. Right. So people elect the party, or they elect the representatives of parliament into the government. Right. So in parliament, there are several parties. There's more than one party, two parties in England, in the UK. There's a bunch of parties.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But usually it's the two big ones are the Labour Party and the
Tories,
Conservatives. No? Yeah, those are the Conservatives. Okay. And how it works is whoever has control of the parliament in terms of numbers they have an election and
amongst themselves,
and they pick a prime minister.
Okay, right. Okay.
So Liz Truss was elected, and they nominate several people.
Right. Okay,
and those people make their case and they campaign. They go on media and all that. And then eventually they have a vote and they pick a prime minister.
It sounds almost like voting for like the Academy Awards.
Of like you pick like nominees.
Well, it's because it's a small voting body
Right.
that picks the winners.
So you pick the prime minister.
Okay.
So you now have the prime minister. So in the UK, usually prime ministers are not voted out. Like Tony Blair, Boris Johnson.
Oh, they tend to leave.
Right. The great, Margaret Thatcher.
Right.
Margaret Thatcher resigned after 11, 12 years. She
Okay, so
resigned.
that's how they leave.
That's how they leave.
They
usually resign.
Okay.
And they usually resign when their party
loses the majority.
not when their party loses the majority, when their party gives them a vote of no confidence.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So they've lost their party.
Okay.
Right? But usually, like any, similar to any American presidency, you have your highs or lows. You have moments where you're soaring. You have moments where you're
Right.
shitting. You're on the floor. And usually, your party, I'm sorry, you do something to kind of turn things around. You establish faith in your party. Okay, we're going to get through this, whatever. And people stick with you. But in her particular case, they only stuck with her for 45 days.
Wow. And what was the reason?
So she, if you think things are bad here, what people have to remember is that the economy of England is very, very important to the U.S. because England, people always lose their shit when I say this, but it's the truth. England is like a sister country to the U.S.
It is.
That little country we got, independence from.
Right.
Right. But
we're still on good terms.
What
right,
hurts in England hurts here and vice versa. Right. And the economies are very linked and it's very different, similar cultures. And, and it's two countries that really rely on each other and it's your biggest ally.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on over there
affects here and
us
vice versa.
And if you think things are bad here, our inflation here is 8 something. Theirs is like between 14 and 16%.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, it's like out of hand. And then the problem with the UK is that they're dealing now with everything that is happening to a lot of countries in a post-COVID world,
right, yeah.
coupled with Brexit.
Oh, because that still hasn't been resolved.
Brexit has not been resolved, and we're not going to get into like a whole conversation here about Brexit. But the thing with Brexit is that people voted for Brexit, and then they were like, "And now what?"
Yeah.
Like, okay, what about this, and what about that, and what about what does this mean?
Nobody thought it through.
There were a lot of things that weren't thought through. So they're going through Brexit, coupled with this massive post-pandemic economy and post-pandemic world that we're living in, which now has a war with Russia and Ukraine.
Right, like in their backyard, yeah.
It's just a lot of things at once. So their economy is in the shithole. So she got elected, and her big thing was taxes, right? She was going to soar the economy in England by cutting taxes. Right? Sort of like a trickle-down approach.
Okay, got it.
Right? We're going to cut taxes, especially of the wealthy, and that's going to trickle down. And
everybody should have more money in their pocket.
So once she really started working, because remember, she came in office a couple of days before the Queen died.
Right.
The Queen dies.
That throws everything off.
Well, it throws everything off, but the whole country stopped for
right.
like
That's what I mean.
2.5
weeks.
weeks.
It throws everything off, yeah.
Right? And that whole scenario, that whole thing lasted like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That whole...
it might still be happening.
It might still be happening. So out of those 45 days, she really worked for like 32, 33 days, right? So she, after the Queen's funeral ended, the following day, she went to like work, if you will.
Right.
And a couple of days later, she... came up with this whole tax code. And it failed so miserably that the next day or a couple of days later, the British pound, lost so much of its value that I think for a moment there was lower than the American dollar, which it never has been.
No.
Right? It never has been. It's always been the British pound has always
on
been
par or above.
No, always above.
Yeah, but I'm saying
at some point
at the lowest,
there's been points that's almost been double.
Yeah.
Right. So then that put the economy even in a bigger shithole. So there was just no turning back from that. And she resigned. And there was like this challenge going on among the Brits. You know, the Brits and their humor.
That's true.
That they were like, what's going to last longer, Liz Truss or a head of lettuce? So I don't know if you saw it on that. It was like her picture and a picture of a head of lettuce. It's like, what's going to wilt first? And actually the lettuce won.
Look at that.
Lettuce won.
Well, you know, it is the leafiest of the greens.
Yep. So that was the learn section.
That was the
Bitter,
learn
let me
section.
tell
There's
you.
a lot of learning in there.
So that when I read that today, I was like, holy shit. You know, you're talking about the leader of like one of the major
superpowers of the world.
It's like she came in, she came out. And I have to tell you that it's sort of like, you know, I picture that it has to be sort of like the similar frustration of like being the first one voted out of American Idol. Like, you know, it's like she went through so much trouble to get elected, and
then no
40, and then she's the short. Well, because at least with American Idol and reality competition, there always has to be a first, right?
That's true. Right.
But she is the shortest prime minister run in all of British history.
Wow. Well, that's one way to make history.
Like, let me give you here a little bit of a rundown. So before her, Boris Johnson, which Boris Johnson wasn't in office that long, 2019 to 2022, was 1,079 days. Before that, it was, remember Theresa May?
The answer.
Theresa May was from 2016 to 2019, again, about 3 years.
Okay.
1,107 days. Before that, it was David Cameron. Remember David Cameron?
I don't remember him.
You don't remember British prime ministers?
No, I just don't remember him.
David Cameron, if you see a picture of him, you'll know.
No, but I feel like he came in after Tony Blair, and Tony Blair sucked all the air out of the room.
Yes. So David Cameron was 2010 through 2016. He was 2,256 days. Before him was Gordon Brown. Gordon Brown was 2007 through 2010, which was 1,050 days. Tony Blair was 1997 through 2007, 3,709 days.
Okay.
Theresa May, 45.
Lisa Truss.
45.
Wow.
Like, that is something that, like, oh my God. I feel bad for her.
I feel bad for her. I mean, but, you know, congrats. You're still in the history books.
Well, that is true.
I mean, can someone give her a Guinness World Record thing?
That is true. Yes. Well, there you go.
I'm trying to find a positive here.
I think that the guy in the Guinness jacket
should show up
and be like, here's the Guinness World Record for the shortest prime minister run in British history.
Listen, and there will not be any other competition, so she can carry that to her grave.
You know, I'm glad that there's always an upside to everything.
Always a silver lining. You always have to look for a silver lining.
Wow.
So I wanted to actually, because you said Boris now, I just wanted to bring something up today that was it happened today, Fake Friday. You know, went to an event. It was a rally for Latino Victory, which is an organization that is started by Luis Miranda, which is Lin-Manuel Miranda's father, and they did a whole rally today at Books and Books, and Lin-Manuel was there, and it was wonderful, and he was fantastic. And this other guy, I want to say Maxwell Frost, I believe is his name. I feel like there's a middle name that I'm forgetting, but he's running for a seat, I think, out of Orlando. He would be the first Afro-Latino, Gen Z, Cuban-American person or whatever. They were all great. They were all inspirational. But that's not what I want to talk about. So when I was at this event, as I'm waiting outside to get in, I mentioned it to you briefly. You know, I was standing there talking to our friends waiting in line. And all of a sudden, like, I turn around and there's Boris Sanchez, like, just walking by. I'm like, Boris? And he's like, hey, how are you? Whatever, this and that. And it kind of dawned on me how we live in an age where we, quote unquote, know people, because this is someone that we've interviewed. Mm-hmm. He sent us a video for our anniversary. You know, we've DM'd, IM'd, texted, you know, like, we've, quote unquote, chatted, right? We have a somewhat personal communication with him. Right, there's a quote-unquote relationship of sorts, right? But we had never met in person. Yeah, but that's very common nowadays. And that's what I'm saying. It made me stop and realize, like, there are so many people who I'm quote-unquote friends with that I have never met in real life. Yeah, and that's such a phenomenon of now. Is. And I know we're a podcast, so it's a little different. You know, there's always going to be people that we haven't met in person because of virtual interviews and they're celebrities, but it struck me as such a bizarre thing that's reality.
And for example, on my personal Instagram, DJ Borges 19 at Instagram.com. I've been on Instagram. I still think I'm newer to the group because I joined Instagram in 2015. I feel like you joined at the beginning, like when it really got popular.
Yeah.
Right? Or when it took off. It was what, like 2010, 2011?
Give or take.
And so I've been on it already, 7 years. That's crazy. And there's people that I follow that, like, I've seen their kids grow up.
Right. Yeah.
And like I've sent them messages like, "Oh my God, congratulations! Your son graduated high school." You know,
and you're having conversations with these people,
yes,
right?
Or like people that have passed away. Like I remember some time ago, there was somebody whose grandmother passed away, and I sent him a DM, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know, my grandmother passed away last year, and I'm still dealing with it." And we entered into like this huge conversation.
Yes.
And for like days, we were texting each other, like, you know, I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" You know, because I understand, you know, and blah blah blah, and you know,
and you've never met
in person, but then it's like, oh no, I have a bunch of people like that, you know, that it's like because you share, me in particular, and to a certain extent too, you know, you share on Instagram or on social media what you want to share,
right,
you know, but I share, even though there's things obviously that I don't share, and I don't post that much anymore. But there are things that I have shared, right? And those commonalities that people find, and you know, interest.
Even something like as silly as like, oh, going to see the new James Bond movie.
Yeah.
You know, that's trivial in the grand scheme of things. But people, oh my God, did you see? What'd you think of it?
Right. Like, but when you've been on social media for X amount of years, for years, and you follow people and they follow you, you see their lives progress.
Yeah.
And it's like you see them, their kids grow up. You see people
they
pass
moved.
away. You see they moved.
Yeah.
They got married. They get separated.
New job
they
or whatever.
up, you know, and you sort of share these moments. With them. So it's like, it's really it's something that's just the reality of today.
And it's just funny because, you know, we keep again, it was at that moment when and he's the one who said it actually. Boris was like, you know, it's nice to finally meet you in person. And I was like, shit, yeah, we've never shook hands.
Yeah.
You know? And it just made me start to think on maybe social media has its ups and downs, but you know, it made me realize maybe social media is not all evil, you know, because I know that the initial
social media is not all evil.
Well, but the initial thing of social media was that hopefully it brings people together and it connects. And I kind of maybe had a positive, wistful moment for a minute there where I was like, you know, maybe it's not all bad, you know. Maybe it's because I think a lot of times, especially if we're focusing on the Twitter of it all, you know, we get sucked into like this. It's just evil and memes and everybody hates everybody and this and that.
Here's the thing.
And it can be nice.
I don't think those
be.
relationships we're talking about are relationships that are established on Twitter.
Fair enough.
That's totally Instagram
or even Facebook if you're part of a group that has the same interest of comic books or whatever.
Right.
Right.
And you're over 50. You're over 60.
Well, no. So I'm part of a Facebook comic book group that everybody seems to be like 30 to 50.
Right,
range.
but Facebook is not your main source of social media. It's Instagram.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess eventually Instagram is going to be what Facebook is because of TikTok.
Yeah, right.
So whatever.
And then eventually there'll be something else that will replace TikTok.
Right. Okay, so what could it be if it's not video? Maybe it's like live.
It's a chip in your head.
Oh.
It's Wall-E.
No, but definitely, it's sort of surreal.
Yeah,
because I definitely have people like that I've been following for years that I would consider them friends. I've never met them in person, but I would consider them friends. There's people that like, a perfect example. We met the girls of Albisa.
That's right. They were in town this
week.
Yeah,
and
we had never met them in person.
Right, and meeting them, it was like, oh my God, yeah, it's you.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah.
There was already like 3 years of friendship meeting them in person.
And you know, and I've talked to them like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
You know, I've like talked to them about things, right? And we had never met in person.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, a lot of times people like text me like, hey, I know you know about this, like, do you know how to do this? And I'm like, maybe.
Depends if I like you enough.
Okay, so This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everybody knows the holidays can be a time of great joy and togetherness with the food, parties, and family. But they can also be a time that causes us to feel anxiety, stress, or even depression. And let's face it, having your tía tell you que cambies la cara during dinner doesn't exactly help. What you need, and maybe your tía también, is a gift to yourself. The ability to speak with a professional about your experiences. Enter BetterHelp. A customized online therapy provider, BetterHelp offers therapy options that align with your time via phone, video, text, or even live chat sessions with a certified therapist. BetterHelp's customized approach matches you with a therapist in under 48 hours based on your needs and creating the opportunity to help you better understand yourself. And as a special offer for Pero Let Me Tell You listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/pero. It's already more affordable than in-person therapy, and now you can save on your first month. There's even a gifting option if you'd like to help someone you care about understand the benefits of therapy in their life. We should all have a happy holiday season, and BetterHelp has helped millions take the first step in that path. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/pero. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast and this episode. I found out something today, actually yesterday, that blew my mind.
What happened?
Like, it was so funny because I had just dropped off Tristan in school, so I was coming back home. So I had parked the car, and I still had not gotten off the car, and I'm glad that I wasn't really driving because I would have driven off the road.
What happened?
Do you know that Cookie Monster has a first name?
What?
I'm glad that I'm telling you, and I'm glad that this is happening on air.
This face is why we should do video.
Cookie Monster has a name, a first name. And you're never going to guess what the name is.
Oh, I have no...
It's Sid.
Sid?
His name is Sid.
So his name is Sid Monster?
It's Sid. And it's actually been hiding in plain view. Because a few years ago, he had a song where he's like, when I was a little Cookie Monster, before I was Cookie Monster, I was Sid. And nobody had caught on to it. And then the song went viral.
Wait a minute.
His first name is Sid. And I'm even going to show you the screenshot.
I mean, I don't think
His
you're
name is
lying to
Sid.
me. What? Oh my God, my whole life is a lie.
In a song in 2004 and later in an interview in 2017.
2004?
Cookie in 2004 and in a later interview in 2017, Cookie Monster revealed his real name is Sid.
I love that might be my favorite part of this article. That Cookie Monster in a 2017ing interview.
Yes.
Like he had to sit down with Oprah.
Yes. Me want cookie. I suggest his preferred food is cookies, although he obviously eats anything. I've told you.
Wait a minute. Okay, wait. I feel like I have questions about this.
Okay.
Okay, now, obviously this is official Jim Henson, canon and whatever, but was his name always Sid?
I think it...
Or is this a case of like before he was, because sometimes Muppets do go through, and here we are talking about Muppets, they do go through an evolution where like a Muppet will start off as kind of one, like Elmo. The Elmo we know now, the puppet, the Muppet itself didn't start off that way. So sometimes the Muppets kind of evolve into the current character we know. So is this a case of the character started off as Sid and became
Look at this
Cookie Monster?
headline, because I'm showing you the headline, listeners. Read the headline.
Well, that's what Sesame Street fans lose it after finding out the Cookie Monster's real name. What?
I'm telling you, I had just parked the car.
How did you find this out?
On Elvis Duran.
Well, he finally did something useful.
And I was like, wait, I immediately, the moment he said that, I wasn't driving. I started looking it up, and I'm like, I was so many days old, so many years old.
Hours at that point.
Like, I felt like the sky's like moving and fast, and like, I had like that tunnel hearing you hear. I'm like, wait, there's like my life before this and my life after. Cookie Monster has a name.
Me quedé en frío, en blanco.
So, listeners, this is the other learn part of the section.
Wow.
Yep.
Me name's Sid.
I mean, again, do you know me? Do you know me name is Sid, but me still like to be called Cookie Monster?
Okay.
And then somebody responds, I never knew, with the blown head emoji. I've told you, we've talked about it here on the show. And you know that I'm not Mr. Comic or like you and all that, but I've told you, when especially Miss Piggy and Kermit, when they go on like The View, to me that is a regular guest like any other guest.
Because they are.
Like, to me, Miss Piggy has a dressing room.
They are. They are. Listen, when we interviewed Sonia Manzano, Maria from Sesame Street, like she told us, she's like, when the celebrities go on the show, they're talking to the Muppet.
Yeah.
There's a whole puppeteer underneath there and everything. And she's like, no, they don't acknowledge these people. They are speaking to Elmo, Cookie, Abby, whoever it is. She's like, it is the Muppet.
You're not gonna come and tell me that Miss Piggy is not her own entity.
Hell no.
Like, I don't need to know what's under. I don't know. I don't care. Ignorance is bliss.
It's Miss Piggy.
It's Miss Piggy.
It's Miss Piggy.
It's Miss Piggy.
And she will tell you if you didn't know.
That's why. Like, because you know why I mentioned like The View, because that's like an interview show, right?
Right.
That's
right,
not
right.
like a fun,
No, they're sitting at a table.
They're sitting at a table. So to me, it's like if they had freaking, I don't know, like,
Michelle Pfeiffer. Like,
yes,
right.
like if they had Michelle Obama on the show, it's like they have Miss Piggy, and Kermit, and they're talking about their new project,
Right.
As
any celebrity would.
As any celebrity do, they're going to go plug in their new project or their new special. And they're going to talk about how they were making it, and how the concept
behind the scenes, drama and everything.
I don't. It's so funny because again, I would guess that more in you,
right?
But in me, like not as much. But when it comes to the Muppets, nope. To me, they're real. Like,
I mean, I'll tell you, when I went to the Museum of the Moving Image, I think it was like 2 years ago or a year ago, they had a whole Jim Henson exhibit, and like when I saw those Muppets in front of me, that they are the actual Muppets that were used at the studio, which is like right across the street from that museum, I got misty eyed.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh my god, these are the Muppets.
That's like, me. I'm like totally like, I don't believe in something unless you show me proof. I'm that person. But when these magicians start doing all this stuff, I'm like, I believe it.
You believe Copperfield?
To me, when I see magic, I don't know. I guess there's two groups, right? There's two train of thoughts. Yeah. There are the people that watch it for entertainment and don't want to ask questions.
Right.
Like, I don't want to ask questions. I want to be like amazed, right?
You want to believe the magic is real.
I'll never forget that in the 90s, it was sometime in the 90s while I was wearing cold water, David Copperfield had a special on TV because
the Statue of Liberty one?
No, it wasn't the Statue of Liberty one. This was either late 80s or early 90s. It was probably like early 90s because I had recorded it, right? He had some special because remember that David Copperfield was very like exotic and seductive.
Yes, he was all right. He was like magical seduction,
and there was like a lot of wind. And the women always had like a long flowing hair with the
magical seduction.
Dresses.
Should be another perfume.
Magical seduction by Britney Spears. The new
yes,
Britney
that's
Spears,
a new Britney Spears fragrance.
Anyway, and I remember there was something that he was like on a train.
Okay,
and then on the screen, there was like, I don't know, 18 cards. Okay. And then he would tell you, like, pick a card, go for, like, did you pick the caboose? Did you pick that? And then at the end, he figured out because, like, it was cards. It was, like, 18 cards, and each card was, like, of a part of the train. Okay. Like the caboose, the dinner card.
But it was the people at home that were selecting the card. Right. So the viewers were...
Right. You would, like, touch the screen or whatever. Okay, I picked this one.
Right.
Obviously, it's an algorithm. Right?
Before we knew what that was.
But yes. But I remember watching it and be like, oh my God. Pero how? Like, how? I don't ask any questions.
I don't need to know.
Like, till this day, the most simple of them all. The cutting the woman in half in the box. I don't know how they do it.
And I don't want to know.
And that is like, magician.
That's 101.
Yeah. 101. That's what you learn, the first hour of the first day of magician school. How to cut the lady in the box.
What a fun school.
Right, I know, right? Oh my God, what do you have to do to fail? Cut the woman for real. That's one test you don't want to fail.
Oh,
the subject does not want you to fail that
Talk
test.
about an insurance policy.
Yeah. But yeah, magic is fun. That's like, I know you don't care for David Blaine, but when David Blaine does those card tricks, because David Blaine's whole shtick,
all right,
before he would be in a box or
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like now
know?
he doesn't do magic. He just
But those like I remember he had that special Street Magic
Right.
that Leonardo DiCaprio hosted.
Yeah.
He was wearing like an olive green T-shirt. They aired that special for like 20 years.
Yeah, it's still running.
You know, they still air it. You know, at
they,
2 in the
st-
morning.
they still air it in the
somewhere.
Philippines after Mighty Mud.
That he would just go around doing simple magic trips with cards,
Right.
and I'd be like, "But how?" Like
Yeah. No, the magic he does now is not magic. He does the same thing that Tilda Swinton does. He lives in a box.
he lives in a box.
That's not magic.
There was one that he was like standing on a pole for like I don't know a year. Like,
Yeah, like
that I was like, wow.
such balance.
How is he eating? How is he peeing? Like you have a
Oh, un catete.
yeah. What you do in the name of magic? Wait, David Copperfield. Who was he married to?
He was married to Claudia Schiffer.
Of course, he was married to Claudia.
Well, that's what happens with magical seduction.
Yeah. Of course he was married to Claudia, to, you know, one of the top supermodels.
Magical Seduction by David
That's like, I
Copperfield.
don't know why I found so funny, like, we're taking it back, that Linda Evans was married to Yanni.
They were never actually married.
Oh, well, they were together.
They were together forever. Yeah.
That's so, like, yep, she would go with Yanni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's playing the pan flute and she's putting on that weird mask.
Yeah. And there's wind. There's a lot of wind.
Yes, there's a lot
This is very Diana Ross-esque.
Yes,
right?
there's a lot of open
Wind
windows
source.
with lots of
Wind
curtains,
source.
billowy curtains.
Wind source. Speaking of Diana Ross, this is the second episode that we're going to talk about Diana Ross. The other day on YouTube, I don't know why. I don't know why. You know, in the suggested stuff, I don't know why, because nothing that I had looked up was in any way, shape, or form remotely associated with Diana Ross. Okay. I got a suggestion for Diana Ross. Actually, you know what? I do know why, because I was looking at hotels in Las Vegas. Because I like to look at videos of like the resorts in Las Vegas. Right. And they opened up a Resorts World now, which is like the most expensive, whatever. That's not the point. So that's actually, I think, why. So she has a residency in the Encore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she has it. But it's one of these residencies.
Like de Brittany.
Right, that she does like 5 shows and she goes away for like 9 months. Right. And then she does another 5 shows. But I have a residency in the Encore, right? And I was like, why not? I just put it on for like a minute. And it was like her coming out, literally coming out to I'm coming out.
The opening. This is the opening.
Yes, the opening. And she has like feathers upon feathers upon feathers upon feathers que en la cara casi no se le veía. And I'm like, that's Diana Ross's entrance.
That's the Diana Ross experience.
Yeah, I mean,
did you see Diana Ross if there wasn't
a lot of feathers and what is it, chiffon and
lots of tulle, lots of boas
and wind.
Yes,
and
porque ella no baila.
No.
She just does a lot of hand movements to move things around.
Right, and she needs a wind source, as we've discussed
for the boas and the hair.
Some episodes ago, she needs a wind source so her mountains of feathers and tulle can move, and that's what dances.
That's true. I'm like, still upset about COVID canceling her tour because I had tickets
for Diana Ross.
Yes, we were gonna go see Diana Ross here in Miami.
Yeah. So if listeners, if you're not busy, look up Diana Ross in the Encore. Like, it's funny, porque ella sale. It's the equivalent of like kids when it's a snow day. You put on like 25 layers on them,
like Ralphie in A Christmas
they
Story.
Can't move. It's like similar to that.
Okay.
Different but similar. That it's like, pero Diana Ross, like between the big hair and the 25 pounds of like, dude, like you have to be like. She eventually takes it off.
I would hope so.
Because no human can do a whole show with that.
Not even Diana Ross can take that much weight for the entirety of the show.
There's nothing better than her song with Julio Iglesias. That cheesy shit. It's like
it's catnip.
It's catnip all of you,
for us.
Like it's like
it's catnip. We love us a cheesy. That borders on peluqueria rock.
All of you.
Yeah.
But that is peluqueria.
That is peluqueria rock, right?
I miss Julio Iglesias.
Maybe one day he'll invite us on his plane to eat fried chicken.
You know that Maluma redid that picture,
yeah.
But I had never seen that picture before.
Oh no!
So listeners, if you don't know what we're talking about, a few months ago or like a year ago, Maluma took a picture in his private jet, as one does, with drinking wine with a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken. And when I saw that picture, I was like, "This is odd.
This is very specific."
And then when you scrolled, it was because in the 80s at some point, Julio Iglesias took a picture in his private jet. But you know the thing is that Julio Iglesias looked candid, right?
Well, of course, right.
Julio Iglesias and his,
I think he's like in a tank top because he's not even like formally dressed.
Yeah, no, he's not in his tux.
Right.
Yeah, he's very casual. Yeah. with wine, with his Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket. But the difference is that what I noticed is that the Julio Iglesias picture también tenía una tortilla española.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Right, which is on brand.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's on brand.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's might have been eating paella.
Because, you know... You know that I think that one day we should just have an episode where we invite people over and we have paella.
But the entire episode is just us telling people not to be late.
Don't be late to the
no llegues tarde que hay paella. That's the whole episode. The whole episode is just anunciando la paella.
You know that's one of those things that when you said that, it was one of those moments that's like, oh my God, that's so true. Like, that's so true. And it doesn't happen for any other type of party food.
Nobody says, no llegues tarde la lasaña.
Right. Or no llegues tarde la arroz imperial.
Exactly. Right. No, which is the same thing as a paella, really, at the end of the day. No, it's paella.
No, pero tú no vas a venir, pero vas
a hacer una paella. It's like, I've had rice and chicken before. I'm good. I'm positive.
Because I've told you the thing about paella, especially here in Miami, it's part of the song and dance when they bring the thing, and then
big ass cazuela,
the big ass, you know, that pan that you could land a helicopter in, you know, and
with Diana Ross in it,
with her flowing garments. That, you know, they start adding all this stuff and people are like, ooh, entonces, I've told you, esa paella siempre está desabrida. It needs more salt and pepper because they're making it for like 25,000 people, so you can't season it correctly. And then when it's seafood paella, mentira, that a real seafood paella for a party of, you know, 60 people,
un dineral.
So ahí le ponen 2 o 3 camarones, you know. Lo que tiene es mucho muslo de pollo.
Oh my God. Like, yes. And peas. Lots of peas.
No. And you know the problem with muslo de pollo? We're constructing una paella. El problema del muslo de pollo en la paella
is that...
No. El muslo de pollo, you're not frying it. You're not putting it in the oven. So está como así sancochado that they make it in the rice.
You're just cooking it in its own juices.
Right, and it's not like un pollo a la chorrera, un pollo, arroz con pollo, that you cook it, you slow cook it in there. Eso sale muslo de pollo así desparramado, like it's not cooked, it's cooked, but it's not cooked, with the one shrimp, with the unseasoned rice, and that's the paella.
So, as you can guess, Bim Bam Pollo will never have a paella dish. We will not be expanding into the paella territory.
Probably not.
No.
Or we could make like a kick-ass paella, like
paella wings.
Because I've had. Do you know how like the real paella is? So the real paella comes from Valencia,
right?
So the real authentic paella is a paella valenciana, right? And that's done in like a crate in the clay pots, yeah. Like why am I blanking out on the word?
Like una olla de presión, pero una de presión.
No, those clay. Dude, where they make creme brulee in
a ramekin,
like a ramekin but of clay.
Okay,
right? That's like a size of a dish.
Okay,
so there's where you cook the paella, and then the whole thing with paella, especialmente la paella valenciana, is that the bottom, because you're doing it in like a coal oven or whatever, in the bottom the rice is supposed to get crispy. And it's supposed to be
rapita.
The rapita is supposed to be like a layer. Imagine like a unison layer,
like a pie crust,
like a pie crust. Yes.
Okay.
That is the paella.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, it's super delicious.
That sounds great.
It is super delicious.
See, I'll show up early if you tell me it's that.
Right, pero ese pollo sancochado en arroz. I'm sorry if any of our listeners are in the mobile paella industry.
We wish you all the luck in the world and hope you get lots of business.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, if I go to one of these parties,
I'm just not getting there early.
Right. If I go to one of these parties and they have paella,
I'll eat the paella.
I'll eat the paella.
I'm just not getting there 3 hours before it's done.
I'm not running a red light to get to the paella.
Right. That's what we're saying. That is what we're saying. Hey, it's funny now. We're talking about the paella. You said some word there that made me think of...
Welcome to Pero Let Me Tell You, who talks about Diana Ross and paella in the same story.
Those are our favorite topics. No, so, you know, esta semana había un poquitico de frío. And so the other day I went to La Palma to go get churros because that's what you do. Now, when I say un poquitico de frío, it was like in the 60s, which is chilly.
It was like 68.
No, it was like 64.
Oh, excuse me, a whole 4 degrees less.
Okay, so it's chilly, but it's not cold, right? There was a lady.
Of course.
There was a lady next to me who just kept talking about like because apparently online it says La Palma closes at 11, but they were actually closing at 10 or whatever. So she kept saying like, pero cómo van a cerrar si todo el mundo viene para el churro con esta friedad que hace y esta friedad. You would I just kept thinking of her. I'm like, to hear her speak, like we're standing in the midst of a blizzard.
Oh yeah.
To get the churro, and it's like I was in shorts. I wasn't sure, and ella no estaba tan abrigada tampoco.
I think the day that
she was over,
the coldest was Wednesday of this week.
Yeah,
that's when it was in the high 60s, mid to high 60s. My mother called me, and she's like, "El niño fue abrigado a la escuela," and I'm like, "No, el niño fue en chore." Ay, Darien, pero ¿cómo tú vas a mandar el niño a la escuela sin abrigo con el frío que hay, Darien? Con la frialdad que hay. I'm like, he'll be okay.
He lives in this house. He'll be fine.
Yeah. You know what? You make a good point. It wasn't colder outside than it is inside.
I say that as somebody whose teeth are bordering on chattering right now.
You know what I'd like to think how cold my house is?
A meat locker?
So, like in some supermarkets or at like 7-Eleven or something, sometimes the beer, they have it in the cold storage in the back.
You can
go in and get it.
I'm going to second that notion.
I think maybe those are like 2 or 3 degrees under.
Only because they have to have a certain amount of frost on the bottles.
But my house comes pretty close, and I'm very proud of that.
You could. It would take very little to get you there.
Yes.
Yes.
I've told you, when I read, like, says, FDA says that meat should not be left outside for more than 2 hours. I'm like, that's in other people's houses. In my house,
be a week.
In my house, it could be out for like 2 days, and it won't get bad.
It'll be fine. You will not get any salmonella. I promise you. It'll be just as good.
My mom was like super concerned, right? And then the problem is, and this used to happen to us. In the morning, hay tremendo frío.
Oh my god! And then you go to pee,
and you're dying.
Yeah,
and it's like no.
Right.
I rather that mean you could have a jacket with a zipper, but that's a whole other story.
That's not the point right now. That's not the point. All right, that's not the point of the story we're telling today. Can
you imagine? Because we weren't alive when this happened, but I think it was like in 1976, 1977 when it snowed in Miami. But back then Miami was a much smaller city. Right. Can you imagine if that happened now?
It would be like when it snowed a couple years back in Atlanta.
Right.
That everything stopped. No, because that's how excited we are. It could be a flurry and the world would stop here.
Right, but when it snowed in Atlanta a few years ago, that time, I know which time you're talking about. It actually did snow, and it was a big deal. It was a very big deal. But in Atlanta, it's colder than it is here, right? Even though they're not an Arctic city, it is colder than it is here. But here now, especially with the amount of people here now, like I think people would probably like go to the hospital for like emotional distress, like trauma. Like
people don't know how to drive when it rains.
They don't know. Yeah. They don't
so
know
now let's freeze that.
Right. No.
Let's make that a solid.
Yes. Can you imagine people dealing with black ice? Oh, that would be kind of fun though. It would provide great fodder for the podcast.
I mean, yes. And anecdotally, yes, it would be great for us.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'd want to be out there.
Yeah. Like birds will fall from the sky dead.
Oh, no. Oh, the lizards.
The iguanas.
The iguanas.
Well, they don't die, right?
No, they don't die because they're cold-blooded. So they basically just freeze. And then once it gets warmer, they thaw out.
Especially how big those things get.
You know that I immediately thought of that happening to one of our friends, and I think you can imagine which one of our friends.
Yes. It'd be kind of funny.
It would be great.
It's like one of those moments like, where's my camera phone? Like, wow.
I could see that happening to her.
I mean, I gotta tell you, if I feel a thump and I see an iguana, because I'm really not afraid of any animal.
No, but that's just not your first thought.
No, but I'm not reptile friendly. Like, I've had friends or family members have iguanas as pets, and I'm like, they're good over there.
My youngest nephew has one.
I'm like, they're good over there. Like, they're good. Like, I'll be like, what was that just hit me?
That's what I'm saying. You're not going to assume that it's an iguana that fell out of the sky. Ugh. It's not like they fly.
There's so many iguanas on 112 here in Miami, on 112 and Miller Road, where the little bump is.
Yes.
That they live by the bridge.
Yeah.
It's like they go there to suntan.
Oh, what else are they going to do?
Well, and I'm like, iguanas hide. They're hunting you.
They're not going to many paella parties.
No. Oh my gosh. As I'm scrolling through the news here, There's an article here that says, ever had a bad case of chickenpox? If you're under 30, probably not. Thanks to the vaccine. Well, no shit. Like,
Yeah.
I told you that I had an aha moment. This was actually when Tristan was younger. That I was like, wait.
People don't get chickenpox.
People don't get chickenpox anymore. And like chickenpox was such a big part of like our lives because I had chickenpox when I was really small, so I don't remember having chickenpox. But I remember in school, it'll be like, oh, so-and-so's out.
They're out for the week.
They're out for 2 weeks. They got the chickenpox. Like, that was such a thing growing up in the 80s. And now it's like...
But now people are getting it older. What is it? I can't remember.
Shingles.
Shingles, thank you.
Yeah.
So now people get shingles instead of chickenpox.
Right. No te da la China.
No, that's not China.
What type of racist shit is that? Where did that come from? That in Spanish they call it la China.
I don't know. Mira, I don't understand. Because you know what? La China is chickenpox, but in Puerto Rico, China is orange juice. So you know what? I don't know.
Do you know what my favorite Spanish disease name is?
La rubiola.
No, chico. Even better. La papera.
Oh, that sounds dirty.
La papera.
That sounds like a section on
What is
Pornhub.
papera? Hold on. Let's look this
Is that
up.
mumps?
Is it the mumps? Who gets
Well,
the mumps?
because la papera is this area under your chin, right? That's la papera. So I would imagine because mumps is a swelling of your
The mumps.
yeah.
Okay, who gets the mumps nowadays?
I don't think that's a good question. I don't even know how you would get the mumps. Is that contagious?
It is. The mumps, contagious disease causing painful swelling at the sides of the neck and face. La papera.
La papera.
But in Spanish, it's like, ay, fulano tiene la papera.
All I know about the mumps is that in cartoons, whenever people had the mumps, they always had a scarf tied around their head. So I don't know if to just hold it up. I don't know what would happen with the mumps.
Who gets the mumps? Like,
I don't know.
Is there a vaccine for that?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what's another
Probably
good
somebody
one?
who gets,
You know
like,
what's another
the
good
Black
one in
Plague.
Spanish? Sarampion.
Sarampion. That's just like a rash.
That's the measles.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought. Wait. A rash is.
Un sampullido.
Sampullido.
That's another good one.
Sampullido.
Sampullido, sarampión y papera. That's why everything in Spanish is more like dramatic. It's more like, fuck this. Like,
Those are the worst wise men names ever.
sarampión, sampullido y papera. Oh, man.
Oh, Dios mío.
I love English translation of papera. And you know what's funny? That you would think that papera is like
Slang?
slang name. Yeah,
No.
it's not like the actual medical term.
No.
Like, can you imagine going to a doctor all serious and be like,
Doctor.
doctor, and he'd be
Tengo
like,
la
tienes
papera.
la papera.
La papera. Dun dun dun.
You have the papera.
But even in English, in English it sounds stupid. Like, the mumps.
The mums.
Like mumps. Oh.
They have the mums.
That sounds like something you get like if you hit your knee on the coffee table.
You know that growing up, okay, did you ever watch, and I'm sure our listeners can relate to this, well, especially if they're a certain age, like, and whatever videos or whatever of like kids going to the doctor's office, when they would check your reflexes and they would hit your
the little
knee,
mallet, yeah.
the little mallet that would hit your knee,
Yeah.
and then the kid's knee would go like
Like a rock hat.
that never happened to me. Like, my thing barely moved.
I don't even know if they tested my reflexes.
I'm like, who kicks like that?
Dina Lohan.
Who kicks like that? That's like, what doctor used to put that thing on their head?
The light?
Yeah, the
Yeah, that's
metal
what,
thing.
But that's what that metal thing was. It was supposed to be a light, so it would reflect. So that when they were looking in your throat, it would reflect off of that, and
You know probably why they
Alumbrad.
couldn't, because I can't open my mouth very
Oh, so they
wide.
weren't gonna waste their time.
Yeah, I could barely, like, whatever.
They're like, you know what? He's fine.
That's like, you know me, I can barely open my eyes. Like, when people are like, open your eyes. Actually, I went to the optometrist
how do you
this
put
week.
drops in?
I went to the optometrist this week, and then she was like, open your eyes. And I'm like, I'm opening that thing. Like,
This is as big as it's gonna get,
he opens
kids.
up a little wider, and I'm like, ahorita I'm like Tom Cat with the tape, you know, from Tom and Jerry when he puts the tape on. But that did happen to me. She's like, okay, you open up a little wider. I'm like, I didn't say it to her, but I'm thinking, well, as wide as I can.
This is it, sweetheart. Like, that's it. We're not going any bigger.
All this paella talk has made me thirsty.
Is it time? Is it time for the last soda pop?
Time for the last soda. Who do you have?
Oh wait, before we get into that, actually, just because I'm looking at the grimace that I got you from the Happy Meal, the adult Happy Meal toy.
Yes, I actually have a story regarding my eyes getting checked. Go ahead.
Have you seen how much those things are going for on eBay?
Yeah, I have. But are they still available at McDonald's?
No, they're no longer available. $20,000.
Well, what do you mean $20,000
for the freaking like the grimace and the
whole set?
No, one or two like unopened.
Okay, so the grimace that we're looking at here
Yes.
that you brought me, that it has two sets of eyes, which I'm not sure why they did it with two sets of eyes.
Because of the collaboration with these toys was with Cactus Jack Flea Market, and they're like one of these funky brands, and that's kind of their shtick with their characters.
So the other day, you're an optometrist, they dilated my pupils.
Okay.
So when I got home, I couldn't really, when they dilate your pupils,
you're useless. Yeah.
you can't see,
Yeah.
like everything is like blurry. When I looked at that grimace, because it has double eyes, I'm like, oh my god, that thing has like 20 eyes looking at me. Like,
Did your trypto whatever kick in? También?
my trypophobia.
Oh, Dios mío.
Bueno, soda time.
All right. So should I go first or you go
Yeah,
first?
you go first.
All right. So I'm gonna keep mine very short and sweet. As I mentioned earlier, I went to an event that was hosted by Lin-Manuel Miranda and his father Luis Miranda, and so I'm just gonna give my last soda to them. I did not know actually that his father is like this tremendous like activist, just in terms of political activist, but also Latino representation, and his son is obviously taking up the mantle. And I just wanted to give it to them because they're clearly two guys who are using their fame. I mean, leveraging more of Lin-Manuel's obviously, to just really do good in the community. Like I didn't know he was a middle school teacher until today when he said it. Before he became Lin-Manuel Miranda, and they're always trying to represent the Latino community. Sometimes they do better than other times, and we've had these conversations before. But they're not just sitting back on their laurels, and they're really trying to get out there and get out the vote, and ensure that everybody's voice is heard, especially in the Latino community, which, as we know, is not a monolith. Mm-hmm. But so I just wanted to give it to them. They came down here today, and I know that they're kind of doing a little bit of a whirlwind tour now with the midterm elections. But I'm always a supporter of people who are in a position of power that are putting their money where their mouth is, and really giving back to the community. So short and sweet.
Nice. It's funny because you told me the other day, are we going to go see LMM? And I'm like, who? I was thinking like LLC. I'm like, who needs an LLC?
Yes, we're opening up another company because we don't have enough with two.
So, I'm going to give my soda to, you're going to be like, what? But
Sid.
Yes. Sid the Cookie
You're giving
Monster.
it to Sid the Cookie Monster.
I am going to give my last soda to a ship. The Carnival Ecstasy.
The Ecstasy?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And there's a reason why. So, this week, the Carnival Ecstasy, many of you listeners are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. The Carnival Ecstasy was a cruise, a ship from Carnival that specifically it was home ported here in Miami from about 1991 to like 2005, 2006. It was here for a really long time before it was ported somewhere else. And
no, it was before 2005 because it made the trek to California while I was working at Carnival.
Which was?
I started working at Carnival like 2001. I was there for about 6 years.
Okay, so it was here, but it was here for a while.
Oh, no,
it was
here
for a while.
Yeah.
And it did its last sailing a few days ago. And it was home ported in Mobile, Alabama for like the last few years. Yep. And it did its last sailing a few days ago. And it's being sold. It got sold for scrap.
Oh wow!
They're gonna scrap it. But before they scrap it, it was here in Miami for the past few days, because it was here in the port of Miami because they were like taking out stuff and whatever. And I actually went to see it. I went to see it twice. I went to see it on Wednesday, and I went to see it on Thursday. So on Wednesday, here in Miami, we're very fortunate. I think one of the most beautiful areas of Miami is when you're taking the highway, and to your left you have the islands, and to your right you have the port of Miami. And on a day that, like on a bright day where all the cruise ships are there, it's really a sight to be seen. It's very beautiful. And it was there. So I actually, on Wednesday, I parked my car along the road and I took several pictures of it. But on Thursday, I found out, I did a lot of searching when it was going to leave Miami, and it was leaving Miami to Turkey, where it's going to be scrapped. When it was leaving Miami, and I found out that it was leaving Thursday at 5. So I went to the port.
Oh, wow.
I went to actually South Beach, to the pier.
Oh, to see South Point.
And I recorded all of it. And there were a bunch of people there recording it. I wasn't the only crazy one.
Oh, wow.
There were because there's a lot of video blogs.
That's true.
About cruises and all that. And so I recorded, I took a bunch of pictures and all that. But the reason why I was giving the last soda, like, I really thought about this. That ship, I remember that ship when it came out, it was like a big deal.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
I took a cruise on that ship.
My first real cruise was on the Ecstasy. Yeah. When I mean real cruise, I mean because before that I had been on Sea Escape.
And that's right. That's
the one-day cruise to the Bahamas.
See,
that's not a real
cruise.
It was on the Ecstasy. And I was thinking, like they gave the stats now, 5.5 million people sailed on it.
Wow.
That's a lot of people. It was on the Carnival fleet for 31 years. And people are probably thinking like, oh my God, why are you making such a big deal about a ship? I'm like really into ships. Yeah. It's like a big thing for me. But the reason why is because so many quinceañeras, like, no, seriously, had their
I didn't think this was where it was going.
Had on that ship. And I was
you're right.
I was thinking like so many people had so many like memorable moments of their life around that. Weddings around that ship. And what really got me thinking was that, and this is where like the immigrant and all that experience comes in. Like, I remember being a kid and my parents couldn't afford to take me and my brother on vacations that we wanted, like on real vacations that we wanted to go to. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know your situation was a little bit different, like you went to Hawaii and all that, but my parents came to this country with 2 kids, and like so many people,
my parents grew up here.
They had odd jobs, and my dad had 3 jobs at one point and all that, and they couldn't give us the vacation that we wanted. And I remember going to Disney when I was like 7 years old, and it was like 8 or 9 of us in a Cutlass Supreme, which I still don't know how that happened.
Cuban ingenuity. But
the point is, I remember going on this ship and thinking like, oh my God, we can do this now. Right. And I think that happened to so many people, because going on a cruise, especially back then, it was an affordable way to travel and to bring your family. But I feel that there was still an event. There was a certain thing like, I could afford to take my family on a cruise. It wasn't going to break the bank. Right. But it was, okay, this is better than staying at the Days Inn for 2 days, 20 of us cramped in a room. Right? Because that's what so many of us would do. And I feel that that's for a lot of people, like going on these ships, like,
this was also back when cruising still had that air of glamour to it too. Yes. So you were taking una vacazione. Right.
But
carried weight.
But I mean that it was like, oh my God, we're going on a cruise.
Right.
Like that's something that like you never thought you were going to be able to do. And now I feel it's like something everybody does. And it's so like second, to some people it's such second nature. But back then it was like, oh my God, like I never thought we would be able to go on a cruise. Right. And back then the Ecstasy was state of the art. It was like, oh my God. So I just thought like, I really thought it like a big full circle thing about it, that I'm like, this ship probably meant so much for so many people, because I remember that's how I felt when I went on it. I was probably like 13 or 14. I remember thinking like, oh my God, like, a few years ago, we were sleeping 20 of us. I mean, I remember when we used to go to Naples, and my parents used to sleep on, it wasn't air mattresses, it was pool floaties.
Oh, wow.
Like the little things you float in the pool, the little...
Yeah, the mattresses. But the pool mattress,
That's what we'd sleep on. It would be like, I'm not kidding, like 10 of us in one room.
I believe you.
At the Vanderbilt in Naples. And it's like, I remember thinking like, we're going on a cruise. Like, oh my God.
Exciting, yeah.
Like, but, it was nice, and it was really sad. It was really, really sad because, like, you know, it's like that. It's like anything else. Like, certain buildings, certain things just have so many memories for so many people, and you know, so I wanted to give my last soda to the Carnival Ecstasy.
Well, that's a good one.
Yeah. Do you know who the godmother of the Ecstasy is?
My gut says Kathy Lee
Gifford. Of course it's Kathy Lee.
Okay. Okay.
Because you know what? I feel that of all the ships of like the fantasy class, the Ecstasy was the most popular one.
Yeah. It was like the one that made the
the one in Miami was the Ecstasy and the Imagination. I feel that half of Miami sailed on the Ecstasy and the Imagination.
I did an exchange program with the Imagination.
Oh yeah.
I was on there for a week as a crew member.
Oh.
Not really. I mean, I was shadowing, but it was great. It was so much fun.
Yeah. Why didn't I ever work on a cruise? I mean, that I'm Mr. Ship History. Like,
I don't know. I mean, there's still time, I guess.
I know, but now it'll be like a whole set of different responsibilities.
Whatever. They have a legal department. I'm sure you can.
I know, no, and now like I'm telling you, I think the worst job in the world is. I've told you this. I think the worst job in the world must be working for customer service at the lost luggage department of an airline. Oh. Because the people that are calling because you lost their luggage are ready to kill you.
Yeah, you've ruined their vacation.
It's like, I think it's easier to negotiate with a terrorist.
At least you can feasibly give the terrorists what they want.
Especially nowadays that Karens are empowered.
Oh, that's true.
Like, if it was bad before.
No. Oh, it'll be out there.
Yeah. So it's like, man.
Yep.
So anyway, with that said, we hope everybody listened last time. I feel there was a lot of learning in this
There was a lot of learning.
Liz Truss, Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster, that right there.
That's the biggest revelation of the year.
Oh my God, wait. We cannot end this episode.
With?
We cannot end it yet.
Without?
Your cake.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
By the time you hear this, some of you may have seen it, because I'm sure we'll post something on Insta. But the cake.
The cake. I want to make an announcement, ladies and gentlemen, listeners of the podcast, Pero Primos. My parents got me the right cake this year.
Hallelujah.
They got me the Mandalorian
and
cake.
the Mandalorian.
They got
not just the right
Mandalorian cake.
The right decoration.
It was the right theme. It was the right flavor, and it was specialty made. Like it was made to order.
Oh.
And here's the thing, and I was telling you this because listeners, like, you guys don't know. Well, some of you do understand because a lot of you have DM'd us. When people were calling me on my birthday, they weren't like happy birthday. They were like, when are you gonna know about the cake? Like, when are you getting your cake?
It was like a weird version of the gender reveal.
So, yes. And I have to tell you, I was a little disappointed
that they got it right.
At this point in time, nothing's gonna make me happy, right? Because if they don't get me the cake I want, like, oh, you didn't get me the cake I want again. But then now that they got me the cake I wanted, I was like, oh,
there's
no
no
story. The right cake. There's no story now. Now you ruined the narrative. The people, they got me the right cake.
Yes.
They got me the right cake, and it was delicious. And I was eating Publix cake for like the whole week. Like, literally, I ran out of it yesterday.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I'm 1 day late.
It's funny because, like, when there was the other day my mom came here, and there was like maybe, there was like a piece left, but a small piece. And mom was like, ay, ¿tú quieres que yo te bote esto? And I'm like, hello? We don't throw away Publix cake.
Hell no.
Like,
even old Publix cake is still good.
Yeah. You know what you do with old Publix cake? Yeah, that the cake is stale. You get the buttercream.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because the buttercream doesn't go bad.
No, it's still good.
So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, they got me the right cake. Yeah, we'll post something about it.
Yep.
They got me the right cake. I'm a little disappointed.
I know. But yay to them. Yay them.
Next year I'm going to give them something harder.
Yes.
I knew.
The bar has been set.
Because I set the same directions
as last year.
Okay. So I was like quarter sheet, vanilla and chocolate. And my dad kept asking me, ¿de cuánta gente? And I'm like, it says it there. He's like, no, it doesn't. Nada más dice un cuarto. I'm like, that's how many people. Right. He's like, no entiendo. So then I called you.
Yes.
When he called me, I called you. And I'm like, this is going downhill.
Yeah,
my father was asking questions. But then he called me like 10, 20 minutes later. and he was at Publix, and he actually did what I always thought he should do. He gave the phone to the person at Publix, because I could hear him. That my dad's like, le voy a dar el teléfono al muchacho de aquí. And I'm like,
that's all you need to do?
Damn it, he's going to get it right. Like, so, yeah, they got me the right cake. So,
but, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yes, it is. So, here's to many more wrong cakes.
Exactly.
So, as always, we hope you listen, laughed, and learned. And as always, remember to grab your croqueta, your pastelito, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Cuídense, mi gente. Bye. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lomlaplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.
Mi papá immigrated from La Belleza, que es Medellín, Colombia, to Miami, Florida, all with one goal, pa' echar pa'lante la familia. And with that same spirit, I started the Que Hola podcast. It's all about sharing the journey creatives from the 305 and beyond have traveled, the W's, the L's, pitfalls, and lessons, all with a focus on first and second generation Latinos, pero para todos los creatives. Entonces, parce, Que Hola contigo. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you stream your podcast. I'm your host, D Fig. Oh, also, we're on YouTube. Listo.